I stand corrected.
But after rook e1, there is a move b6 I've never seen in my life, which does not mean it's not good. But it's a very interesting choice by Magnus to play b6 and immediately to develop his bishop to b7. So,
yeah,
very interesting way of doing it. Usually in this kind of Pausen, Sicilian time, I don't know what to call it, usually you have your pawn on a6 and b5, right? To have the pawn on b6 and a7 and have the bishop on b7, it is quite unusual, I must say. And of course it was a choice by Magnus, so in order to make Firouzja think, which
is a good strategy because he has 10 minutes on the clock as opposed to Magnus's 7 minutes. So.
And I must say that I think Magnus probably won the opening battle because White is going to be moving back his bishop to e2 or f1. F1 more probably. And then Black can go b5, Black can go knight g6. And I think Black has a wonderful game because usually it's not so easy to develop your bishop to b7.
Mm-hmm. Right. And normally White hasn't kind of committed the king to the king side either. So quickly when you see these b6 ideas. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think...
What an unexpected move, b6. It's just like that.
Well, this is what Magnus is fantastic at. You know, he's
Incredible.
One of the hardest working GMs, and his specialty is just
Though I don't
finding
understand really that after b6, why he went d4 and why not c3, the classical way of making this system. c3, d4. It was kind of not so logical to me. But okay.
Okay.
They know what they are doing. Bishop f1.
Bishop f1, and we're expecting... Are there any potential sacrifices on d5?
Oh, he's just simplifying. Magnus is just...
oh, he's trying to kill the game. Okay, knight to c6.
He just goes quickly and he wants to develop to c5 very quickly or to e7 and just castle as fast as possible.
Are there kind of any potential ideas of the queen moving and then a knight planting itself on d5?
Yeah, absolutely. I think queen e3, I think bishop e5, bishop c5. But now, after bishop e7, you have in mind to go knight d5, which would be strong enough, I think. So this is why bishop e7 will not be played.
And if you go bishop c5, then the queen will swing to g3.
Yeah, but
and
now
then
bishop d4 can be an option, or castle, because after bishop h6, queen f6 can be a counter-attack move.
Yeah,
but maybe after castle e5. So let's see how Magnus reacts on
queen e3.
On queen e3.
So a quick reminder of the rules. Alireza Firouzja has just 10 minutes on the clock. Magnus Carlsen has just 7 minutes. The players have kept the colors from when they originally played the classical game.
He's fighting for point and a half who wins, or it's a draw odd for Magnus. So it's a draw, then also Magnus takes 1.5 points and Firouzja will get only 1. And now Magnus is spending time. He's under 5 minutes. So actually there is a huge advantage in time for Firouzja. And Magnus knows it, that Firouzja is extremely fast, very good blitz player, one of the best in the world probably.
Yeah.
These days.
And we have
Bishop
some moves.
c5, Bishop c5, Queen g3. But I think it was a kind of a mistake that Magnus was thinking so long. Or it shows that he's somehow a little bit unsure of himself. So he wants to make sure, he wanted to double check that after Bishop c5 there is no concrete huge problems will be happening.
Yeah.
Because the bishop on c5 stands very well on that diagonal.
Well, Firouzja just decides to play e5. Very committal move.
Yeah, e5 makes a lot of sense. He wants to go knight e4.
Knight e4, and then there's obviously bishop h6 in there.
And also bishop h6 in there, because queen f6 is not possible anymore. And even bishop g5 can be strong.
Okay, so Magnus lashes out with f5.
f5, this is just, I wanted to say, I like this move to f5. It
Okay,
will be
but
taken.
what happens after pawn takes pawn?
Yeah, this is going to be the move. Takes,
And
knight
then knight
e4.
e4. Yes. And also kind of one mention about the clocks is that there will be no increments until the players have reached move 41, and then it will be 1 second increment per move, which is not that much time.
Actually, it's not so easy for black.
No.
Because after e takes f6, he's thinking again, and he's already under 4 minutes.
Yes.
And there is not much of a choice to come.
But he takes with the rook.
Thinking with the rook because it's threatening bishop f2. So.
And how is the situation after pinning?
I don't know. I'm thinking now.
What
happens if bishop g5?
That's what I was thinking. So the idea is after bishop takes pawn, queen takes, rook takes, and now bishop takes queen.
Well, black has to just no other choice than to take, but here black is worse because I think, well, rook e1, rook d1, it's only 1 pawn for the exchange. So now it's a big question whether bishop g5 is possible or not, because rook f2 seems to be a beautiful move, but after bishop d8 I don't see why is it good.
But there's a discovered check here, right?
Yeah, but it's only a check. Discovered check somewhere, okay, so black can go here and then.
But this seems, if you're going to lose the exchange, this one seems a better.
This is a better way of sacrificing. And look what we have on the board.
Oh, we have it on the board, Judith. Wow. Okay.
Bishop g5, rook f2.
Okay.
Look what we have here on the board.
Well, Firouzja obviously has to capture the queen.
And this is what we're having here. Rook f3, king h1, rook g3. And now bishop b6. He even takes that pawn, and the problem is for black that after rook g5, knight e4. But what about rook c3? It's a blunder.
Yes.
Is it? Oh. No, because rook
b1.
Wow, how tricky.
These guys calculate so quickly. So
wow.
Okay,
so there was no option for black, and he took on b6, h takes g3, bishop f2, capturing the g3 pawn. Wow, things are happening so fast.
Yeah. Okay, so
rook e2.
Rook e2.
I guess bishop g3. That's what I'm expecting. Of course, it would be a nice dream to play rook f6 and to play rook f8, rook f6 and checkmate. But unfortunately for black, knight e4 would be a strong reaction on that. So things are not turning out so well for black, because after bishop g3, Firouzja played knight e4, which is important because immediately he went knight c5, attacking the bishop and the pawn. So black is pushed back to play to bishop c8. This is not good.
Yeah, and he just has
one pawn.
One pawn for the exchange.
But the problem is that he's not active. Actually, he went to passive play by playing bishop c8. So, of course, now black wants to grab the pawn on b2. So I'm expecting to play c3 or to play knight d3. Yeah, that's another option.
But taking a look at the clock times, well, Firouzja has 4.5 minutes, Magnus 3 minutes.
Well, it's not so easy to convert his advantage for white, that's clear. Rook d1 is also something to play, I think. Because this is very important for white, that his knight on c5 and it pushed back the bishop, but white played c3 after all, d6, and now black.
Knight has to retreat.
Well, the question is whether to a4 or to d3. After d3, probably bishop f6 will be the move. Somehow it's good for black to keep the bishop pair. And it's also the bishop on f6 puts a difficulty for white to be able to push his pawns, I think.
It's not easy actually to win this position with white, because
he went knight e4, centralized his knight, king f7, so he's heading to e7 after rook d1. King e7, and this is what we are having on the board.
And maybe rook d.
So this bishop on e5 is a key player in this game.
It's holding it together.
Yeah, later on d5 is something black wants to do. Also rook b8 to put pressure on the b file. For the moment, the bishop will stay on c8, I think, or it's going to be moving to d7.
I think it's good to move it to d7, and then that way it's
G3.
still...
G3, white wants to activate his bishop through bishop G2. And for now, d5. After that, white wants to go knight c5, and the pawn is takeable, but then rook d5. So this is the exchange, what Firouzja wants to do in this position.
Yeah, that would be a dream for black.
For white, you mean?
Yeah, for white, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it's very important to see the activity of the pieces, and this can be very important for white. Rook b8 is played, as we were suggesting it, bishop g2, d5. So now the question is where the knight is going to move into g5,
Knight to g5
or to c5.
No, it's gone to c5.
c5. This is what I thought, that it's going to go there. But now...
Okay, so you can't move the dark square bishop.
What about playing king d6?
Mm-hmm.
Because for now b4 is not really possible because of bishop... bishop c3, knight e4. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So king d6, b4 would be the move, and king d6 is on the board.
Yeah.
But after b4, what Magnus has in mind, I don't know.
Maybe he wants to
b4
play...
is on the board. Maybe he blundered this move.
a5?
a5, a3, clear, things are speeding up, and Magnus is under 2 minutes.
Okay, and I have to tell you, it is move 30. So that means 10 more moves until the players start getting that
Fantastic, 1 second more.
You never know.
This,
yeah.
This bonus, like they deserve it, right?
Yeah,
1
yeah.
second extra. So a takes b4, rook a8, controlling the a file, which can be important, looking for counter chances on a3. So that's where Magnus is looking for counter chance, pinpointing out the c3 weakness. And also don't forget that the g3 pawn is also there. So the e5 bishop is the key player here still.
But so far there's no danger because of white playing knight to e4 check.
Yes.
So the pawns are okay for the time being. And
it's very interesting how Magnus just eliminated and exchanged the a pawns, and now he's looking for counter chance on a3 with his rook. So for the moment, it's not. I don't see how white is going to win, because if he would be moving away, he cannot move away because then already it's takeable, the pawn.
Okay, well we have a.
What happened? What happened?
He gave a
Knight
check.
e4 check, king c7,
and now b5.
b5 instead of moving away his knight. Takes and rook e4. Look at this, what is going on. What genius this guy is.
Yeah.
Look, Firouzja, what kind of move he found, just 2 minutes on his clock, and he found this incredible. And the real threat is not b takes c6. The real threat is rook c4, and also to capture the bishop on e5. So he surprised Magnus quite a bit by playing this move. What a beautiful solution.
It's a beautiful, very effective.
What a beautiful solution. I think rook e4 was a surprise to Magnus. He goes in rook a3. This was obvious that this is the way he wants to save himself. So after rook c4, and I think rook c4 will be the move, and after rook c3, rook c1 is possible, or to play rook takes c3, bishop c3, and white is not going to take on c6, but I think rook c1 will be the stronger problem. And this is what we have on the board, rook c4, rook c3, 120 against
53 seconds. And move 35. So move 41 is when they get that lovely 1 second increment. And yes, Firouzja certainly playing very impressively.
Very impressive solution, what he found.
Magnus, after making that critical move at 5.
We have rook c3, bishop c3, rook c1 on the board, knight a7. Of course, Magnus is an amazing defender, so he will not give up until the very last moment.
Okay.
Rook c3, king b6, very important that the c6 square is defended, and of course the bishop on c8. So now let's see how Firouzja will solve this problem. Bishop c6.
Hang on a second. Can you not play?
Fortunately for black, he cannot take pawn. Because. Sorry.
Can you not play knight takes pawn?
Oh, and check.
And then turn a check.
Yes, but then king h2, king b5, rook c7, and grabbing the pawn on the 7th rank. So this probably is a lost position.
Okay.
But black played e5 instead. So let's see what happened. He played e5, and what has happened?
So he's played e5, and now the bishop came to d8.
White went king g1, bishop f5, and he moved away with his bishop, because by now knight c6, capturing the bishop, was already a threat. So now black has to take care about his knight, because knight b5 is not possible to rook b3 pin.
Okay.
And so black played g6, rook a3. No, sorry, g6, king f2, h5, trying to stabilize the pawn structure over there. Rook a3, now obviously the threat is rook a6 check, pushing the king back, which just happened. Bishop e4, rook a6, king b7, rook e6, and it's getting worse and worse for Magnus, because the e5 pawn is falling off, and the knight on a7 is exceptionally bad.
And the players are really speeding up and making the digital board catch up with them. Because suddenly we have a whole load of moves.
Okay, so we follow. Oh, wow, look at this, 7 seconds, 1 second, what's going on? Yeah. Did he lose on time?
No, they're still going.
No, 4 seconds. So I'm changing, sorry, so things are speeding up so much. What's going on?
The players were on 1 second increment. You couldn't.
Firouzja just
it was a draw.
Ran out of time, but it's a draw.
Yes.
This is the information we receive. Well,